Hello everyone, this is Shane Norman with Graco. Today I'm going to show you how to change the swivel on your XDX hose reel. Now this procedure will require you to dismount the hose reel from its mounting location. So before you do that, make sure you follow the pressure relief procedure found in your manual. Then dismount your hose reel and clamp it to a workbench using a couple C-clamps. Now you change your swivel assembly if it's leaking or if the reel is not performing well and it needs to be replaced. The tools we need today are a small C-clamp, a number 2 Phillips, a pair of medium-sized crescent wrenches, a 1/2 inch socket and ratchet, an 1.5 inch socket and breaker bar, a 3/8 drive breaker bar, and a 5/32 Allen wrench, along with a little bit of grease. Now the first step in this process is to remove all the spring tension from the hose reel. I'm going to rotate the reel, and then we are going to first loosen the 2 Allen screws. Loosen them, but do not remove them. And then we will loosen the center tensioning bolt. Again, loosen, but do not remove. And then the next step is to insert the 3/8 breaker bar. Now while holding firmly on the breaker bar, you can then remove the 2 Allen screws. Okay. Once the Allen screws are removed, then we will rotate the assembly counterclockwise. And we'll rotate counterclockwise to remove all of the spring tension on the hose reel. Once there's no more spring tension, now that we've removed all the spring tension from the reel, we can go ahead and remove that center bolt. Set the bolt and washer aside, and now we are ready to flip the reel over. So we're going to set it over on its side. And now we're going to remove the arm and the pedestal of this side of the reel. We're going to first start by removing the 2 bolts that hold the arm to the other arm. Followed by the 4 nuts that hold the arm to the pedestal. And we can remove this side of the arm, set that aside. And next, we're going to remove the swivel shaft nut. And the next step is to remove the 2 bolts that hold this side of the pedestal to the frame. Then remove the pedestal. And now we're ready to disconnect the swivel fitting from the hose. So we'll take our 2 crescent wrenches and disconnect the hose. Once that's loose, you can go ahead and remove the swivel assembly. Now it's time to reassemble the hose reel with a new swivel assembly. We're first going to add a little bit of grease to the swivel shaft, along with a little bit of grease to the main seal. Then assemble the washer back onto the shaft and reinsert the new swivel back into the reel. Then it's time to reattach the hose fitting. Once you get started by hand, then you'll take your 2 wrenches and tighten the swivel fitting to the hose. Tighten the fittings firmly. Now the next step is to reattach this side of the pedestal. we're going to start the bolts by hand and then tighten with our 1/2-inch socket and ratchet. Tighten the bolts firmly. And now we need to make sure that the teardrop shape that's in the swivel shaft mates up with the teardrop shape that's in the pedestal. If they are not matched up, there will be a gap. And then if you tighten the rest of your assembly down, it could damage your hose reel. So make sure that the two mate together nicely. Now that those two are mated properly, we're going to reinstall the swivel nut. Tighten the swivel nut firmly. And then we can reattach the arm. Start by putting the 4 nuts back onto the arm. Leaving those still loose, we're going to then take the 2 bolts and reattach this side arm to the other arm. Now we can take our 1/2-inch socket and ratchet and tighten the bolts and the nuts. With the nuts and the bolts firmly tightened, we can then lift the reel back into the standing position, and then we will reinstall the square washer, followed by the bolt and washer. Hand tighten the bolt, but leave it a little bit loose, and then we are ready to put spring tension back onto the reel. So we'll reinsert our 3/8 drive breaker bar, and then we are going to rotate clockwise to add spring tension. So there's 1. There. Now I have added 3 turns of spring tension. I'm going to reinstall the Allen screws. Make sure you continue to hold pressure against the breaker bar. Then, once the Allen screws are in finger tight, we can remove our 3/8 breaker bar and finish tightening the Allen screws. And next, we're going to tighten the center bolt. You may want to adjust the spring tension to make sure that there's enough force on the hose to lift the meter that's attached to it. And that's how you change the swivel on your XDX hose reel.